I never thought we would ever see the day where a movie would generate more drama than Don't Worry, Darling. But I have to say, I think It Ends With Us has it beat. The movie only came out, what, a few days ago? And already there has been so much controversy surrounding almost every single aspect of this film. We're talking about everything from co-stars unfollowing each other on social media, shady interviews that are sparking debates, and extreme criticism about how the story of this film is being represented, particularly by its lead star, Blake Lively. Honestly, it's a complete mess. So, let's get into it step by step. If you've been on TikTok any time in the past year, you've probably seen behind-the-scenes footage of It Ends With Us being filmed all around New Jersey. From the moment filming started, controversy followed. People online immediately began complaining about the outfit choices for the characters, criticizing the casting decisions, and questioning whether this book should have even been adapted into a movie in the first place. It felt messy right from the start, and unfortunately, that same messy energy carried through all the way into release week. Now, for those of you who don't know, It Ends With Us is a book written by Colleen Hoover. The novel became a massive success, largely thanks to TikTok and the community known as BookTok. If you've ever walked into an Indigo or a Chapters bookstore, you probably saw this book front and center on one of those BookTok-themed display racks. It's practically unavoidable. I remember taking my girlfriend book shopping at Target one day, and I asked her why all these books on the shelf were turned backwards. She looked at me and said, "It's Colleen Hoover. Ask TikTok." And I was just standing there wondering, what is going on? Why are they backwards? And why is everyone obsessed with this book? If you don't know who Colleen Hoover is, and you've never picked up one of her novels, you might walk past this book in a store and assume it's just another light-hearted teen romance. But that's not really the case at all. It Ends With Us is actually a story about domestic violence, DV, which immediately makes it much heavier than what people might expect from the pastel-coloured cover. At the same time, Colleen Hoover has been accused in the past of romanticizing toxic relationships to her younger audience. To explain this further, someone on Reddit broke it down by saying, many of Colleen's books, especially the ones that fall under the romance category, tend to either center around or at least touch on domestic violence, toxic love, or unhealthy relationship dynamics. Since these novels are mainly marketed as romances, some readers feel that the darker elements are brushed aside too quickly. Plotlines often skip over the seriousness of abuse to instead focus on forgiveness or moving on with a happy ending. Personally, I never read It Ends With Us, so I went into all this movie drama with no expectations. At most, I assumed it was just another cutesy rom-com, something light and fun. But like I mentioned, it's the complete opposite. Unfortunately, the marketing for the movie has not been helping either. Instead of making it clear that this is a serious story with sensitive subject matter, the promotional material has been framing it like it's a fun love story. And that disconnect has been rubbing audiences the wrong way. The cast has been doing press interviews all week long, and it's been very clear that some of them are handling it better than others. For example, Justin Baldoni, who is both the director and one of the main stars of the film, sat down with CBS Mornings to talk about the story. He was thoughtful and serious, explaining what he hopes audiences, especially men, take away from the film. He said, "As a man, I'm always going to come with my own biases, and that's one of the reasons I was afraid to direct this movie, let alone act in it. I wanted to make sure this film always had a female gaze, and that I wasn't putting my own perspective into it. One of the big problems is that men always ask the wrong question. When we hear about someone staying in a violent relationship, we ask, why did she stay? But that's not the right question. The question we should be asking is, why do men harm? He went on to talk about how relationships are complicated, that there's real love, charm, passion, and a hope for change, which makes it much harder for people to leave. He also revealed that he worked closely with organizations like No More to make sure the film represented the issue as truthfully as possible. When this clip hit social media, Many people in the comments were shocked. They said this was the first time they'd heard anyone from the cast openly acknowledge the DV themes in the movie. One comment read, "He's the only person actually bringing awareness to the real issue." Another person agreed, writing, "Finally, someone said it." Now let's look at Blake Lively, who has been taking a very different approach in interviews. She's been asked similar questions, but her answers often avoid the heart of the issue. For example, when a reporter asked how survivors of DV should approach her if they want to talk about how this movie relates to their personal experiences, Blake responded with a kind of joke, saying things like, "Should I just share my location? My phone number? My social security number?" It felt more like she was deflecting than actually answering. Even when she was directly asked what message she hopes survivors of DV take from this film, she gave a broad, almost generic response. She said that survivors are more than just their trauma, that they are people of multitudes, and that what defines them is bigger than what happened to them. While her words weren't wrong, they didn't feel connected to the actual seriousness of the story. Instead of grounding her response in the film's themes, it came across more like a motivational speech. Something else people have noticed. In all these press interviews, the main stars never appear together. We don't see Blake sitting beside Justin. We don't see Colleen Hoover next to Justin either. They're always split up, which has fueled rumours that there may be tension within the cast. A few months ago, Colleen Hoover and Justin Baldoni were seen together often, even posting photos on each other's social media. But during press week? Nothing. Colleen has done interviews with Blake, since Blake is also a producer on the film, but Justin is nowhere to be found. Fans think something definitely went down behind the scenes. The Hollywood Reporter even addressed these rumours, revealing that there might have been two competing cuts of the movie during post-production. According to their sources, this creative disagreement caused a fracture among the filmmakers. On TikTok, fans pointed to the lack of group photos at the premiere, the absence of joint press events, and the fact that none of the stars follow Justin on Instagram anymore, even though he still follows them. That raised eyebrows because earlier in development, Justin and Colleen seemed like close collaborators. Despite all that, Justin has been nothing but professional. He continues to praise Blake and Colleen in public, saying that Blake made the movie better and often took the lead on important decisions, especially when it came to intimacy scenes. But now reports say Justin has hired crisis PR, and not just any PR, the same expert who represented Johnny Depp during the Amber Heard trial. That suggests he knows how messy all this publicity has become and how badly it could hurt the film. Meanwhile, Blake has been facing a separate wave of backlash. A reporter re-uploaded an old interview from 2016, calling it the Blake Lively interview that made me want to quit my job. In the video, the reporter congratulated Blake on her pregnancy and asked her about costumes, but Blake responded in a way that made the questions seem sexist or shallow. She said things like, "Would you ask men about their clothes?" even though the question was innocent. Watching it now, people are pointing out how hypocritical Blake looks. Back then, she was offended by clothing questions, but now, during It Ends With Us press, she's busy promoting romance, florals, and even her hair care brand, instead of focusing on DV. The drama doesn't end there. Blake and her husband Ryan Reynolds are also being accused of trying to manufacture a Barbenheimer moment with this movie, similar to what happened with Barbie and Oppenheimer. Since Ryan's movie Deadpool and Wolverine released just weeks before, people think the couple tried to cross-promote each other's projects. Ryan even crashed a press junket for It Ends With Us and filmed a jokey skit about being jealous of his wife's on-screen love interest. Blake reposted it on Instagram, but the comments were brutal. People wrote things like, "Wrong movie, read the room," pointing out how inappropriate it was to joke about jealousy when this film literally deals with jealous, controlling partners. On top of that, many people are accusing Blake of caring more about selling her hair care line than spreading awareness about DV. One person commented, It's disgusting that you're using a film about DV to dress pretty and sell products. The only person taking this issue seriously is the director, and he's a man. Others compared her behavior to Jennifer Lopez's recent controversies, saying Blake is entering her JLO era. At the end of the day, all this noise explains why Justin Baldoni hired Crisis PR. The bad press doesn't seem to be sticking to him. Most comments praise him for handling the subject matter respectfully. But the negativity surrounding Blake is absolutely overshadowing the film. Of course, some will argue there's no such thing as bad press. But when the story is about domestic violence, it feels wrong to use drama and gossip as marketing fuel. I truly never thought another movie could outdo Don't Worry Darling in terms of behind-the-scenes drama. But here we are. It Ends With Us has officially taken that crown. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.